Hello and welcome back to J. Kerner for Astrology. Today we're here to discuss the full moon in Gemini, the full December cold moon, exacting 23 degrees 52 arc minutes the constellation Gemini. This full moon exacts on Sunday, December 15th, 2024 at 1:01 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 9:01 a.m. in the UK time. The name for any full moon in December is the cold moon, long night moon, and the oak moon, because it coincides with the winter solstice, when the days are shortest and the nights are longest. The December full moon gets its name from the extreme cold characteristic of the final calendar month, with the winter solstice initiating winter here in the northern hemisphere. This is a time for wintering, hibernating, reflecting, and turning inward as you reflect on what sets your soul ablaze, especially with so many planets retrograde. As with any full moon, the sun and moon are directly opposite one another in the sky or universe, which is what allows the moon to reflect the light of the sun back to us, making it appear full. With any opposition, conflict leads to evolution, and this typically plays out within our one-to-one interpersonal relationships. Emotions and intuition are heightened, with this full moon illuminating themes connected to information, knowledge, communication, adaptability, travel, and duality. The December 2024 cold moon plays out on the Sagittarius versus Gemini axis of opposition, with the sun in highly intuitive mutable fire sign Sagittarius, conjunct the galactic center, positioned directly opposite the moon in mutable air sign Gemini, while it's loosely conjunct Jupiter retrograde on fixed star Rigel. Important information is coming to light, and this is for several reasons. Full moons are about closure, completion, and revelation, especially the revelation of what's been hidden or done in the dark. Gemini energy is all about gathering and disseminating information, and this is through various mediums, but especially through marketing, writing, teaching, public speech, and journalism. This will play out on the media and especially social media. Sagittarius energy is all about the quest for truth and knowledge. For a deeper dive, you can check out my Sagittarius new moon video from 2 weeks prior. The ruler of Gemini energy and this Gemini full moon, Mercury, stations direct under this full moon, amplifying Mercury's effects and symbolism. This is after a challenging several-week period of Mercury retrograde. Not only retrograde, but in one of its signs of debilitation or weakening. And while it was directly opposing Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, putting both planets not only debilitated, but in what's called mutual reception or cahoots with one another. This serves to strengthen their effects and the chaos. Mercury stations direct 6 degrees Sagittarius, forming an exact trine to Mars retrograde, 6 degrees Leo. We can anticipate a much clearer path ahead, especially in the realms of communication, travel, higher education, and the exchange of information. If you have been experiencing any communication mishaps or misunderstandings, especially since Mercury retrograded back in November, then this shift of Mercury stationing direct is likely to bring long overdue clarity and closure on some of these issues. Mars retrograde in Leo is forming a trine to Mercury, like we said, now direct 6 degrees Sagittarius. So this is connected to the Mars opposition against the alignment of Pluto and Venus in the early degrees of Aquarius. Clarity will also come to love, finance, and work, especially if you've been experiencing power plays and imbalanced power dynamics within the workplace and within your romantic connections. There will also be clarity around repressed emotions, desires, and feelings. Outdated beliefs can be released, and delayed or long overdue conversations can now finally take place. We have a large concentration of planets in the mutable or adaptable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Gemini is mutable air, Virgo, mutable earth, Sagittarius, mutable fire, and Pisces, mutable water. Mutability or adaptability is all about being a chameleon, blending and being flexible. Boundaries could be a major theme at this time. Placements, especially personal placements, plus or minus 5 degrees of where this full moon exacts, 23.5 degrees of Gemini versus Sagittarius, will be deeply affected by this full moon. This covers the territory from about 18 degrees to 29 degrees of those mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. For example, if you have your natal sun, rising sign, or even your midheaven, a very visible part of your chart, within 18 to 29 degrees of these mutable signs, it could affect your sense of self, your life path, your dharma, or how you are perceived or viewed publicly by others. For the midheaven, this could include a major revelation or clarity around your career. For more information and a more personal reading, you can look into the description box below and send me an email for rates. These are general predictive astrology readings. Remember to please hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell so you can always be in the know for what the cosmos has in store for you. We have Jupiter retrograde and the moon in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, Mercury and the Sun in Sagittarius. These are all mutable signs. Having a large concentration of mutable energy, as we do in the chart of this full cold moon, December 2024, can create a chaotic feeling ripe with instability. Many planets are retrograde. Mercury, now direct, Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus, emphasizing a need to slow down, reflect, and review. Although Mercury is the ruling planet for this Gemini full moon, Mars is the most aspected planet, adding to its emphasis, energy, and symbolism, especially considering his recent retrograde and current long-term opposition to Pluto. This is a maverick, rebel, or devil-may-care energy that we are seeing play out in the news. Mercury and the Sun recently aligned for what's called Mercury Cazimi around December 5th and 6th, where Mercury delivered a message to the Sun and was reborn in the heart of Sagittarius, on top of a fixed, highly spiritual, deeply intuitive point in the sky known as the Great Attractor, 14 degrees Sagittarius. Cazimi translates from Arabic for through the heart of the sun, and its symbolism is similar to the phoenix rising from its ashes, reborn stronger and better than before after facing a period of adversity. Because this Cazimi occurred in Sagittarius, Sagittarius themes of freedom of speech, freedom of thought and freedom of movement, international trade and travel, the never-ending quest for truth and knowledge, and belief and faith will be magnified in a big way, especially considering the loose conjunction to Jupiter retrograde in Gemini on fixed star Rigel. There will be a lot of information coming out at this time, amplified by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and growth. Information overload and overwhelm. Jupiter always expands the energy of whatever sign it's traveling through. You can look to your natal chart and your natal Jupiter placement to see what energy is expanded within yourself, often taught and modeled to us by our long-term one-to-one relationships, our mentors, and our friends, who are our best teachers in this life, mirroring back to us the energy we need to see and learn. For me, that energy is Leo. Practice employing boundaries with others, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed by the information that's coming in. Take a social media break or detox. Turn off your notifications and check them when you want to, which is what I do, rather than feel enslaved by that nagging pull of the red notification icon. This is the information age, thanks to the advent of the internet, and it will be amplified with Pluto in Aquarius for the next 20 years, heightened by a trine to Jupiter in Gemini until June 2025, and Uranus in Gemini, 2025 to 2033. The four horsemen of modern society, which include instant gratification, shortened attention spans, procrastination, and exhaustion from overwhelm, will also be heightened. We're really feeling this with Jupiter and Gemini having us feel like an octopus pulled in 8 different directions. I encourage you to check out Bo Burnham's The Internet and John Belliam's The Internet, songs that were well before their time and really highlight what we're experiencing in 2024. This full moon exacts 23 degrees 52 arc minutes of the constellation Gemini, which is in the 3rd decan of Gemini. The territory covers the last 10 degrees of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury and sub-ruled by Uranus, giving a strong Aquarius subflavor to the energy. This energy will feel familiar to anyone who has their birthday between June 11th and June 20th. The keyword for this 3rd decan of Gemini is reason, and the constellation associated with it is Auriga, the charioteer, the serpent-footed king who invented the 4-wheeled chariot, symbolizing communication. This reminds me of the Chariot card in Tarot, which is the energy right after Gemini entering Cancer, right on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer. The imagery of the Chariot card depicts a mature divine masculine driving a chariot being led by 2 horses, one white and one black. In order to drive a 2-horse drawn vehicle at a high speed, this requires complete control over and trust in these animals, symbolizing mastery over our own animalistic urges and nature. The white and black horse represent 2 opposing forces: the sun versus the moon, such as in the full moon, masculine versus feminine, yin versus yang energy. Spiritual victory comes from balancing these opposing forces within. The chariot, therefore, shows us the developed ego once the adolescent has reached maturity and is able to control their raw emotions and direct their willpower towards something far greater than the self. The charioteer in this imagery looms larger than the town in the foreground, implying that our willpower is far greater than the rules of society we are pressured to conform with. The wheels of the chariot rest on top of water, implying that we can draw energy from the unconscious forces of our intuition. When upright, the card indicates victory, successful control of a situation through our willpower, i.e. through the forces of one's personality or persona. The card signifies divine union of two opposing forces, or opposites, such as the moon and the sun, feminine versus masculine, forces within. Although a situation may contain contradictions, two opposite realities can simultaneously be true. The card in its reverse position indicates that the approach of willpower alone will prove unsuccessful, and it's time to surrender to faith in a higher power. The sun is directly opposite 23 degrees 52 arc minutes of Sagittarius, which is in the third decan of Sagittarius. This covers the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius. The third decan of Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter and sub-ruled by the sun, giving a strong Leo subflavor to the energy. This energy will feel familiar to anyone who has their birthday between December 12th and December 21st. The keyword for this third decan of Sagittarius is intuition, and the constellation associated with it is the altar of Dionysus, symbolizing unity and triumph. Let's rewind back to the Gemini new moon 2024, which occurred on June 6th, 2024, 16 degrees 17 arc minutes, the constellation Gemini. We're going to plug in past Jenny to tell you what was going on at that time, but look back through your calendar, your journals, your notes app, your screenshots, etc., and see what was going on for you back in early June 2024. At that time, I was in Nashville, Tennessee for CMA Fest 2024. Hi, and welcome back to J. Kerner for Astrology. My name is Jenny, and I transform lives through the mediums of tarot and astrology. I will be opening myself up to personal readings for parts of June and July, so look in the description box below for more information. The Gemini New Moon 2024 occurs on Thursday, June 6th at 8:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, inviting us to cultivate curiosity, embrace diversity, develop adaptability, and navigate the at times polar opposite paradoxes of life with an open and inquisitive mind. The new moon is when the moon disappears from our Earth-based perspective for 3 days. It is not visible at this phase because when the sun and moon align at the same exact degree point of the zodiac, or point in the sky or universe, in the new moon phase, the moon comes between the earth and the sun, and is therefore unable to reflect the sun's light back to us from this position. The sun and moon aligned at the same exact degree point of the zodiac, with the sun representing who we were born to be, and the moon representing who we already are on a deep private level, is a divine alignment of energy that makes new moons ideal for manifestation and for setting new intentions. The new moon and the 2 weeks that follow provide opportunities for new beginnings and to begin anew. You may notice themes of experimentation, taking spontaneous action or initiation on something, and movement. In the sign of Gemini, we'll be presented with opportunities to strengthen our adaptability and versatility, improve our listening and communication skills with the influence of Mercury, and gain greater awareness around the power of our thoughts and our overall mindset to create our 3D reality, our ability to manifest, and our ability to receive abundance. Factoring in that this is the second of 2 back-to-back new moons featuring conjunctions to Venus, with this Gemini new moon featuring a conjunction to Venus while Venus is Cazimi, the new beginnings that we're manifesting and experiencing over the next 2 weeks and 6 months. I'll have to come back later and plug the corresponding full moon 6 months later here as an end card, but this will be the full moon in Gemini 2024. We'll see themes of enhanced learning and communication and heart-centered communication, or we'll be receiving messages from the heart. Gemini energy. I am someone who identifies as having a lot of Gemini energy. I have my natal moon, Mars, and Vesta in the early degrees of Gemini, and I have multiple placements in the 3rd house, home to Gemini energy, including Uranus, giving me the aura of a Gemini. You'll also notice that Mercury is highly aspected in my chart. It is the second most aspected planet in my chart after Venus, my chart ruler, as a Libra rising. Mercury is rising in my 12th house, along with my chart ruler Venus and the sun in the 1st. This makes Mercury just as significant as Venus, my chart ruler, giving a nice blend of Libra, Leo, and Gemini to my energy. I am Gemini. Curiosity is my name. I am into everything, and I know everyone. My mind moves at the speed of light. I get more done in a day than most people do in a month. Maybe that's why I'm considered to be two people. Night and day, extroverted and thoughtful, duality, dynamics, every pot on the stove set to boil. I am the most exciting guest at the dinner party, if you can keep me there long enough to complete the meal. This is a quote by Andy Nathanson, author and astrologer. Gemini is a mutable or adaptable air sign, known for its intelligence, versatility, and high sociability. The element air has connections to logic, intellect, communication, speech, thought, and writing. In stark contrast to the preceding sign, Taurus's stubborn resistance to change, Gemini is the most adaptable or changeable sign in the zodiac. Where Taurus tends to be more reserved and introverted, Gemini tends to be more extroverted. Gemini can be thought of as shapeshifters who are often restless in nature. Another stark contrast to preceding sign Taurus's steady, grounded, present energy. Currently, the sun casts a spotlight of energy on the constellation Gemini through what's more commonly known as Gemini season, creating an emphasis on a collective desire for change, variety, and freedom. This new moon will inspire us to remain open to miracles, surprises, experiences, and opportunities. Be sure to look for blessings in disguise. At the very least, we'll see our existing circumstances or current environment with a fresh perspective, and we'll learn to welcome change with an open heart and an open mind. We'll also experiment with how making minor adjustments to our mindset can impact our experiences. The pictograph, or glyph for Gemini, represents the mirroring figures of the twins, Castor and Pollux. This is associated with duality, twins, siblings, versatility, and communication. Duality can include shadow and dark, but the point is not to focus on the duality itself, but instead on the power that comes from bridging the gap in balancing two seemingly opposing forces together, such as healing shadow with light, or finding the way out of pain by navigating through it. Have you ever wondered why Gemini is the most notoriously disliked sign in the zodiac? Well, it's not Gemini. I hate to break it to you. It's because Gemini is a mirror. It's an air sign. Gemini and Libra especially are mirrors. They reflect back to us. Particularly Gemini, the shadow, the parts of self we may not be quite ready to see. And it's those reflections of things within us that upset us or trigger us and make us dislike Gemini. Let me say it before and I will say it again. Shadow work is important. While we may allow our shadow to sit beside us in the passenger seat, we must not allow it to drive, at least not for long. The glyph also represents the lungs and the human arms, two parts of the body that Gemini and Mercury rule. The two parallel lines represent knowledge, wisdom, and learning, while the top and bottom line represent the ability of the human mind to synthesize and organize information. According to Greek mythology, the immortal Pollux grieved the loss of his brother Castor, his mortal brother Castor. So their father, and honestly, everyone's father, or so it seems in Greek mythology, Zeus, united them again in the heavens as the constellation Gemini. In the night sky, they are said to carry a lute, a bow and arrow, and a club, symbols of the creative, yet competitive, and at times combative, especially verbally combative, attributes of Gemini. Did someone say sibling rivalry? Interestingly enough, Gemini and the third house of one's astrological, natal, or birth chart represent the phase of life from late childhood to early adulthood, usually up until our first Saturn return. That onset hits us usually between the ages of 27 and 32, depending on the sign. This is a time in our lives when we're still discovering our interests and our identities. While we're making connections, we're not necessarily forging deep emotional bonds or long-term commitments outside of the family. The North Node of Fate and Destiny will be shifting into Pisces in just a month, and we will notice a collective shift toward greater compassion and empathy as the collective awakens into higher consciousness. North Node in Pisces, opposite South Node in Virgo, will help us come into greater oneness as we get in touch with our intuition and our spirituality. You can listen to your dreams more and practice going with your hunch or gut feeling. When I do tarot readings, We begin each session by connecting with the breath through meditation as we call in the questioner's higher self, any past loved ones or ancestors they would like to connect with or possibly receive messages from, and God, whatever they deem that to be. We ask for only messages from the highest as we practice inhaling light, love, and positivity, while exhaling shadow, darkness, anger, resentment, worry, insecurity, doubt, and fear. This connection with oneness is a practice, and we all fall out of it from time to time. We all fall out of alignment. None of us is perfect. We are all only human. South Node in Virgo will help us shed shadow Virgo traits of being overly critical, nitpicky, perfectionistic, and a tendency of relying too much on logic at the expense of the creative, intuitive, and empathetic functions of the mind. Workaholic patterns that were rewarded by Pluto in Capricorn from 2008-2009 until 2023, parts of 2024, hustle culture will no longer work and may lead to burnout and illness among the collective. The upcoming quadruple conjunction between Saturn, Neptune, Venus, and the North Node of Fate and Destiny in the late degrees of Pisces in February 2024 may bring a collective crisis of faith and belief and extreme flooding events that force our spiritual evolution. Now for the aspects involved. So we have a full moon squaring off against Neptune, now direct 27 degrees Pisces. The sun putting the spotlight of energy in the late degrees of Sagittarius, focused on a quest for truth and knowledge, opposing the full moon in Gemini, focused on information gathering and disseminating, to the point of information overload, with the loose conjunction to Jupiter retrograde on Rigel. The energy converging on the tension created by the square to Neptune 27 degrees Pisces. Neptune recently stationed direct December 7th. The collective illusions and delusions we once fell victim to are becoming increasingly obvious as the collective awakens to the truth. But this square aspect, which we have to get through first, can amplify confusion, illusion, and delusion. This aspect is like experiencing brain fog, or a fuzzy brain after a night of heavy drinking. This aspect can make it hard to see things clearly, or as they really are. You can think of this T-square like a bow and arrow, with the energy pointing to what's missing directly opposite Neptune, 27 degrees Virgo. Use Virgo's powers of discernment. Stay grounded, get in touch with nature, and embody higher consciousness, integrity, through your character. The loose conjunction to Jupiter retrograde on Rigel not only amplifies the effects of the full moon, but cautions us to really think twice before speaking or acting. Reflect on your communication and your communication patterns. Find the balance between logic and intuition. We have a kite pattern formed between Pluto conjunct Ceres, 0 to 2 degrees Aquarius, with Venus nearby, now 9 degrees Aquarius. Pluto is on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius, and the last time that Pluto and Ceres conjoined in Capricorn, it brought us the last pandemic. Be on alert for desperate power grabs, as those who are currently in power desperately try to cling onto the power they have and create chaos for the powers that will be. We very well could be in the wake of another pandemic. This is happening opposite to Pluto retrograde, now 5 degrees, 6 to 5 degrees Leo. Major changes unfolding to leadership as we know it or once knew it, as the old ways of being crumble before our very eyes, making way for a much more equitable future in which power will be more evenly distributed among the people instead of the top 2% wealthy oligarchs. This kite involves a grand fire trine formed between Mercury, 6 degrees Sagittarius, the North Node of Fate and Destiny in the early degrees of Aries, and Mars retrograde between 5 and 6 degrees of Leo. Protests, strikes, and revolts will continue. Karma and destruction will happen through wildfire. Pluto in Aquarius also heightens these themes, as Pluto was last in Aquarius from 1777 to 1798, during the last Industrial Revolution, the American Revolution, and the French Revolution, when we became frustrated at taxation without proper representation, and when power was taken back from the hands of the oligarch and more equitably distributed into the hands of the people. This grand fire trine amplifies themes of freedom in the coming months. There will be power grabs and infringements upon individual human rights that force us to own our inner authority and power. Pluto is in the process, with the help of its opposition to Mars, in destroying shadow capitalism by highlighting the pitfalls of instant gratification, materialism, corruption at the hands of celebrities, leaders, influencers, and anyone in the wealthy top 2% who misuses their power, status, or influence. We also have a Yod, finger of God formation, pointing at Uranus, 24 degrees Taurus, still on fixed demon star Algol. There's a sextile at the base formed between the Sun in Sagittarius, sextile Vesta in Libra. Now for the Sabien Symbolism, if you have the book at home and you want to follow along, we're reading from the Sabien Symbols, A Screen of Prophecy by Diana E. Roche. You can turn to page 114. 23 degrees, 52 arc minutes of Gemini rounds up to 24 degrees in the Sabien Symbolism. Gemini, 24 degrees, children skating on ice. Keyword, fun. Theme, adventures and experience. This symbol speaks to excitement, the heightened anticipation of enjoyment, and the ever-present danger of neglecting or failing to properly maintain foundations. It also speaks to the need to be ready and prepared to handle all unexpected demands that may arise. The image of children skating on ice dramatizes the spirit of adventure, as well as an innocent but somewhat naive obliviousness to the realities of skating on thin ice, or the hazards present in any risky situation. The emphasis in this symbol is on having clearly established goals and recognizing that every success is merely a stepping stone to greater achievement. On a practical level, this means never surrendering to a things are fine as is level of complacency. Oof, we don't like that word. Or succumbing to delusions of adequacy. Positive. At its highest, this symbol represents joy in self-discovery through endless adventure. Negative, thrill-seeking, and an inability to sense real danger. Watch for that square between the full moon and Neptune. Today, the accent is on caution. There could be hidden danger within some adventure or experience. Opportunity. Your greatest advantage lies in making sure you are standing on solid ground or a firm foundation before you perform any intricate maneuver. Be prepared for the unexpected. Risk. Guard against complacency or assuming that because things were fine the last time you looked that they still are. Don't press your luck. It isn't always the other fellow who gets hurt. Stepping stones. Danger, hazard, thrill-seeking, risk, fun, adventure, escapade, excitement, and obliviousness. Directly opposite, we have the Sun, 23 degrees, 52 arc minutes Sagittarius, rounding to 24 degrees Sagittarius. A bluebird standing at the door of the house. Keyword, fortune. Theme, providence. This symbol speaks to the dangers of missing the rewards in experience by failing to recognize or pay attention to them when they arrive. This degree also stresses the importance of possessing a proper sense of self-worth. Life tends to give us what we believe we have the right to receive. The image of a bluebird standing at the door of the house symbolizes happiness, good fortune, and luck. The emphasis here is on the need to stay alert and be ready to respond when opportunity knocks. We're on page 298, by the way. On a practical level, this translates to listening and watching for perpetuous signs and signatures, and recognizing fortuitous convergences. Positive. At its highest, the symbol represents a positive outlook and a remarkable sense of timing, or a natural gift for being in the right place at the right time to catch the falling star or brass ring. Negative. It's easily distracted and has difficulty paying attention, or has a blind dependence on dumb luck. Today, the accent is on good fortune and prosperity. This could be your lucky day. Opportunity. Your greatest advantage lies in expecting the best. There are no accidents. Everything happens for a reason. Look for unusual convergences or things that come together in time and space in significant ways. Synchronicities, déjà vu. Risk. Guard against missing your chance for happiness by telling yourself that you don't deserve it or by being too selective or too picky. Stepping stones. Good luck, prosperity, good fortune, reward, good omen, happiness, and opportunity knocking. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, you're a real one. Drop your current most used emoji in the comments. If you took anything away from this video, we ask that you like, comment, share the content, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we know that you'll enjoy the full playlist and this additional video. Thank you so much. Love you and see you soon.